Okay, here we are with the pace car again. I wanted to show documentation that I have, and it's always good for a older car like this to have at least some kind of documentation. I do have a folder that I've put together, and it has all the information I have. It's photographs, documentation. It has all the restoration receipts that I could find, and has all the judging sheets and things like that. So let me show you what I got here. So the first thing I want to mention is that since the car originally came from Illinois, I found this new old stock 1964 license plate several years ago, and I thought that was pretty cool because it I don't know, obviously not the right original one for the car, but at least it's period correct. And actually looked into these numbers, a little lettering here, and I think the lettering is pretty close to period correct for what I found for the time that the car was made. So I thought that's cool. And there's the original sleeve that it came in. So this was a new. This is not a restored plate. This is a new, never used 64, a 60-year-old license plate that was never used. Um, And I had that on the car when I was showing it. I put the North Carolina one on here. We can run the plate from your manufacturer on a car here in North Carolina without any trouble. So I put that one on there just to keep from having anybody worrying about it. All right. This other thing I have here is the owner's manual, and unfortunately I did not have the original owner's manual. But well, what I found was, and this is really cool. I found so the scheduled build date of the pace car is 29D, which is 29th of April 64. And then this one here that I found is May 2nd, so just a few days later. So I thought that was cool that this original owner's manual came from a car that was scheduled to be built only a few days after the pace car at Dearborn. So that was really neat. And it's got, it's another coupe, and it's actually a white coupe. And it looks like it was sold in California, so in May 6th. So that's pretty cool. It's got sold pretty quick. All right, so that will come with the car. I normally keep that in the glove box, but I wanted to get it out. All right, so this folder here, and this is a very thick folder here. It's a 4-inch binder. So first thing I got in here is I've got original. This is an original dealer brochure. This is not a reprint. This is an original, and I used to put that on the dash of the car when it was shown. Just kind of cool piece there. So and then it starts out, it's kind of these documentation books, and it's always good to kind of do like in order, in the timeline in the car. So I started out with at the beginning here is talking about like the pace car and the program and how it came to be and things like that. And here's a pretty cool thing that was found. This is a technical service bulletin talking about pace car white, and there was another little thing, and if nobody noticed, hey, look there, 1964 and a half. How can that be? Ford never made a 1964 and a half Mustang. In June 22nd, 1964, Ford called it a 1964 and a half Mustang hardtop. How about that? All right, here's a little bit of information here about the checkered flag and green flag. Basically just talking about it. Here's the document here. There's a partial list of the winning dealerships for checkered flag. And this is a pretty famous photo that's been around for a long time. It's a picture of the checkered flag winners receiving their cars at Dearborn. I think that was on May 1st, I believe. That picture was taken May 1st or May 2nd. There's one of the checkered flag winners getting their keys presented from the Icoca. And most of them also got this little small Mustang model car here. And this one actually is Patrick something checkered flag winner. I don't have that. It's just a picture of one. But each dealer that won, I believe they got one of those. I think the green flag cars also got one. And just a couple of pictures I threw in here of the race. This is one of the actual pace cars here. You can always tell because it's got grab handle on the top there. Yeah. All right, another thing I have in here is an original Indy 500 program. I thought that was kind of cool. I usually put that on the dash when the car was being shown, so that'll come with the car. And here's all the research that Dwayne Purvis did, who owned the car back in the early 80s and all the way up to early 2000s when he sold it to his son-in-law. And he did a lot of correspondence with Jim Haskell, who was co-author of In Search of Mustangs. And there's a lot of interesting information in here. You know, you kind of got to take it with a grain of salt, but it's the best information they had at the time. And he was correspondent with Jim Haskell, and Jim Haskell sent him some of his paperwork, things that he had written. So I've included all that here, printed up. Let's see. Some letters from Dwayne and stuff. This is when I think this was maybe one of the very first registries. So this is expanded. I think it's I think there's about 100-ish or so cars. All right, let's see. All right, that goes to, all right. Now we get to I go into the history of the car itself. And we got the full ownership history of the car documented with the names. The dates are a little fuzzy on some of these. We know about when, but that's nice to have the full ownership history. And when Dwayne Purvis was researching the car, he actually was able to get in touch with the Gilman Ford dealership, and they still had paperwork on the car there. I don't know. I haven't tried to see if they were still in business. I don't think they are. But anyway, that was pretty cool. And that's where these dates came from. They knew that it came on May 11th, and it got sold to the first owner, Daryl Niswander, on July 20th. That was all in the original dealership paperwork. And this talks about all the restoration dates and things like that. There's the ownership history and an easier list there. All right, this is a copy of the title from John Hanson, who we got the car from, and then here's my title. Just a copy of my title. It's nice to have those things. Here's a picture of the original door plate and decodes it, so that's cool. Here's a few pictures of the car when John got it. Actually, this might have been when Dwayne got it. Actually, sorry about that. Early 80s. It was driven, and you know, it did have a little bit of rust in it. So all that's in there. Let's see. And then here's where the restoration information starts on the car. And I restored it. I used to be MCA National Head Judge. I was assistant MCA National Head Judge for 64 and after 66 before that. So I did 4 years as assistant and then 4 years as MCA National Head Judge. And now I'm the head judge for SAC. All right, this just talks a little bit about the body. I printed all this stuff. This is all into auction, so I'm trying to be as transparent as possible. And here's just kind of my overview of cost, you know, parts, things that were bought. And here's some more pictures that I took during disassembly, and you know, when you do one of these cars, if you got original parts, you like to clean them and see if you can find any markings or anything unique. So all that's in here. And then I got a bunch of pictures from the auction that people have seen. Here's a bunch of the receipts, restoration receipts, and I made copies of them, put it in here. All right. I mentioned in the auction that the car was at the Mustang Owners Museum in Concord, North Carolina, right outside of Charlotte, and they kept it there. It was there for a while, and then I went and got it, and I was able to take it back. So Steve Hall was gracious enough to let me keep it there for a while, so I really appreciated that. And a lot of people got to look at it while I was there. This is when they went to the Mustang Owners Museum when it was at the Carpenter Building before they moved over to the other location across the street. So I can't remember exactly when it was there. And then there's a couple pictures here of when it was in the museum. Here it's parked next to one of the World's Fair cars. That's cool. And here's the show history of the car for national MCA shows. The first show that it went to was the Mustang 50th, and it was just put on display. It wasn't judged or anything. And I had just finished it. I mean, basically we had just cranked the car up and got it on a trailer and got it to Charlotte. And I don't think it even had. I remember we didn't even put the power steering belt on it because it hadn't tested the power steering system yet. So anyway, that was kind of funny. Um, and here, what I did was I went through all the judging sheets and I printed out everything that I wrote down everything that they noted on the judging sheets. Some of these don't correspond to points, but some of them do correspond to points. And judges aren't always right, and I don't claim to be right all the time either. But on some of these things here, I made some comments where I didn't necessarily agree with what they were saying, and so I went through all the judging sheets and I kind of put in here and it's like, okay, yeah, I did correct that. I corrected this, and then it's just a kind of an overview. A lot of times, if you buy a car like this, you might get judging sheets, but then you don't really get all this that goes along with it. Especially, I'm not bragging or nothing, but I got a lot of experience. I've judged probably about 60 or more MCA national shows, so I've judged hundreds of cars. And here's just a few pictures when it was at some of the shows. I can't remember. I can't remember which ones were which, but I just put a few of them there. And then this is just kind of the shows. Here's all the dash cards. Here's the judging sheets. So the full printed out judging sheets are in there, so you can take them out and look at them. Those are copies. The MCA sends you a PDF of those, and you can print them out. So that's what I did. Here's the judging sheet where it only lost 1 point. And Fred Barkley is a very experienced MCA Gold Car judge, so I really respect his opinion. But he only took a point off on the car. This was in 2015. St. Augustine, and some of these got like stuff from the show. Dan Trapp, who just came off of being a national head judge. He was a Gold Car judge before that. Jake Gerald is very knowledgeable. John Tressar is very knowledgeable. So they had a lot of very knowledgeable judges looking at this car over the years. Richard Porter looked at it. Yeah, and Chip Hill, he's very knowledgeable also. And a lot of these guys judge these cars are restored cars themselves, so it's always good to have that type of judge that has gotten into it. You don't have to, but it definitely gives you a different perspective on judging when you've worked on built cars yourself. And this one here, when Richard and Chip judged it, only lost 3 points. Richard judged it the first time, he lost 13 points the first time. So that was cool that he got to judge it again after the stuff had been fixed on it. And the first show was just, there was a few things that I just didn't have done. I had some of the parts I didn't have in time. There's John again judged it. Yeah, I don't know if it was this show, Dawsonville. That might have been that show where it was outside, and I think it was these guys that judged the car. And I don't know these guys. They have really high MCA numbers. But anyway, they judged it outside, and it was really bright, shiny, and they took off points for orange peel, and I was kind of surprised because the car's got a lot of orange peel. All right, goes down. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so there, Chip judged again, and yeah, here's Grand National went to. All right, so that's about it. And then in the back here, I printed out, and I put this on the auction description also. This is a printout of all the recent work that was done to the car to prepare it to sell. So it's pretty extensive. Goes into the types of fluids and all that kind of stuff. It'd be good for the next owner to have a record of that. So. I've sold cars before where I've gotten phone calls and it's like, well, what kind of brake fluid did you use? And what kind of oil did you use? So I've got everything right here. So I put out Evans classic waterless coolant in it because the car, was sitting around. So it's good to have that in there so you won't get any corrosion inside of your coolant system. So that's good. So, all right. Well, there you go. There's a documentation for the pace car.